An integrated approach to forecasting and managing emergency situations in the working phases of coal mines. A set of technical, organizational, and measures to ensure occupational safety with subsequent assessment of potential consequences. Introduction. The development of risk assessment methods is the most important condition for forecasting technogenic hazards, the occurrence of emergency situations, their consequences, and damage assessment. This will allow us to identify effective measures to prevent accidents and injuries at the planning stage of mining operations, to reduce the likelihood of technogenic emergency situations at coal mining enterprises, taking into account the requirements of legislation in the field of labor protection. It is necessary to develop and implement a set of organizational and technical measures. Predicting and assessing risk factors, improving the occupational safety and mining safety management system, taking into account the concept of acceptable risk, revealing the basic patterns of formation of the preconditions for negative events depending on the technical level of production and mining and geological conditions. The importance of the work. At present, in order to maintain the required level of labor protection and industrial safety, scientific research on the development of a set of technical and organizational measures to predict emergency situations in the working phases of coal mines and assess their consequences can objectively be qualified as relevant. The purpose of the work is to establish the influence of a complex of mining, geological, and technological factors on the formation of the preconditions for emergency situations, to identify dangerous zones of gathered manifestations and predict the risk of emergency situations, and to develop a set of technical and organizational measures to prevent accidents and injuries during mining operations. The following tasks were set and solved. Analysis and evaluation of the main patterns, reasons for the manifestations of hazards. Factors in the working phases of coal mines. Ranking of the main risk factors that shape the accident rate and industrial injuries in coal mines. Research of existing methods necessary for the development of measures for operational. Forecasting and monitoring of safe cleaning work in coal mines. Development of an algorithm for electromechanical modeling methods for determining and assessing the values of the horizontal components of the stressed parts of the coal massif and their trajectories. Development of methods for assessing and forecasting technogenic hazards risk of occurrence and dynamics of emergency situations, their consequences, and possible damage. Results and discussion. The ranking of the main risk factors was carried out on the basis of determining the specific gravity of the groups F as a ratio of each of them to the total number of manifestations of hazards over a given period of time. As a result, several thousand cases of industrial risk were analyzed. More than 30 enterprises and organizations were studied. The spread of the basic data on the share of risk factor standard deviation for various geological and mining conditions didn't exceed 10%. Now on this slide you can see graphics of dynamics of man-made hazards in mine working phases. The result of further research based on the integration of electrographic modeling into the system of mine services was the development of an algorithm for operational forecasting of the location of technogenic emergency situations. Now, on this slide, it is possible to see the scheme of the algorithm for operational forecasting of the location of emergency situations. Assessment and forecast of risks of emergency situations and damage from them as the final stage of the algorithm for operational forecasting of location of emergency situations is carried out using a special developed methodology. On this slide you can see the formula of calculating. And now we can see average expected number of accidents during an emergency. The next thing I'm talking about is the algorithm for calculating accidents during downtime of a mechanized longbow in coal mines. The level of risk of an accident at the mining site, taking into account the downtime of the longbow from emergency situations based on retrospective analysis of accident rates at coal mines is. It is possible to see on the slide the formula. Research has made it possible to create a cost chart for monitoring and measures to reduce risk factors in working phases of coal mines. Conditions for the economic efficiency of the project and the cost of monitoring and activities in the long wall for the conditions of the mine. In order to systematically achieve a high level and constantly use the potential of modernization, the future implementation of the concept of the occupation safety and health management system, it is necessary to use the developed algorithm for operation of forecasting of the location of emergency situations. In order to more effectively manage hazardous mine processes, significantly reduce occupational injuries, and improve occupational safety, as the experience of the leading countries of the world shows. It is necessary to involve independent contracting commercial organizations that have licenses to carry out specialized mining operations, such as ventilation, degassing, control of dust and gas conditions, hydrogas, geodynamic phenomena, excavation, and cleaning work. Conclusions. The main conclusions are as follows. Conducted studies of natural and technogenic hazards, basic patterns, reasons for the manifestations of hazardous factors in the working phases of coal mines made it possible to identify 7 groups of risk factors, such as natural exposure, rock mass, and long wall monitoring, equipment, design factors, technological factors, installation and testing of equipment, other factors. Groups of risk factors are ranked in accordance with the specific weights of influence on the occurrence of technogenic emergency situations. An algorithm has been developed for the mine service to quickly predict the location of technogenic emergency situations, which includes the methods of electromechanical analogy and methodology for predicting and assessing the risks of accidents in the working phases of coal mines. A methodology has been developed for assessing and forecasting the risks of emergency situations, their dynamics and consequences, technical downtime, fatal injuries, loss of mechanized complex damage from long time in an environmental accident. Based on the methodology for assessing and forecasting the risks of emergency situations, quantitative values of possible damage from the manifestation of technogenic hazards during underground coal mining were obtained. A set of organizational measures and recommendations has been developed to ensure the safe conduct of underground coal mining based on the results of forecasting and monitoring of geodynamic manifestations processes that provide a reasonable choice of the direction of movement of preparatory and cleaning work, taking into account the values and vectors of the horizontal components of the stress part of the surrounding massif. Based on the research, the program of developing a set of technical and organizational measures for forecasting technogenic hazards, risk of occurrence and dynamics of emergency situations, their consequences, and assessing damage in the working phases of coal mines, which is of significant importance for the coal industry, was solved. Thank you very much for your attention.